You sit here alone with nothing but the shadows and ghosts you can't outrun. You feel it, don't you? That emptiness? That gaping hole inside your chest, like a void swallowing every ounce of hope you once clung to. It's more than loneliness. It's a battlefield, and you're the last soldier standing. Every time you close your eyes, you see their faces. Those who left, those who betrayed, those who swore they'd stay but vanished when the storm rolled in. You hear their voices, don't you? Promises turn to lies, comfort turn to silence. You replay the moments over and over, like a damn punishment you can't escape. But listen to me closely. You don't need them. You never did. Loneliness is not your enemy. It's your teacher. It strips you down to your rawest form, exposing every weakness, every scar. It shows you who you are when no one's watching. And yeah, it hurts like hell, but pain has a purpose. Pain sharpens you. Pain strengthens you. Pain turns you into the kind of warrior who doesn't flinch when the world tries to break you. You want someone to save you? Forget it. No one's coming. Not your friends, not your family, not even the universe. You are your own savior, your own soldier. Stop waiting for someone to pull you out of the pit. Build the damn ladder yourself. And if the wood breaks, use your hands. Bleed if you have to, but climb. Always climb. They'll say you're bitter. They'll say you're cold. They'll say you've changed. Good, let them. Because the man you were before, he was too soft, too trusting, too willing to hand over pieces of himself to people who didn't deserve them. That man's dead now. You buried him, and from his grave you rose, stronger, harder, unbreakable. You've been through hell, haven't you? Betrayal, loss, disappointment. It's written all over you. You wear your scars like armor, and that's good. But don't just wear them, use them. Every cut, every bruise, every broken bone. It's a weapon now. A reminder of what you've survived. A reminder of what you're capable of. When you feel lonely, remember this. The strongest warriors fight their battles in the silence of their own minds. They don't wait for a savior, they become one. Alone, the greatest battles are won in silence. You don't need an audience to prove your worth. You don't need applause to validate your existence. The only one who matters is you. The only one who needs to believe in you is you. And when the world tries to crush you, when the weight of it all feels like it's too much to bear, stand taller. Grit your teeth, look it dead in the eye and say, is that all you've got? Because you faced worse. You faced yourself, and you survived. That makes you dangerous. That makes you unstoppable. Let them leave. Let them doubt. Let them mock. None of it matters. Their opinions don't define you. Their absence doesn't weaken you. If anything, it liberates you. Because now you're free. Free to rebuild yourself from the ground up. Free to become the kind of person who doesn't just survive, but thrives. Loneliness isn't a curse, it's a forge, and you are the blade. Every moment you spend alone, every tear you shed, every night when it feels like the darkness might swallow you whole, it's sharpening you. It's making you lethal. So when the time comes, when the world tries to test you again, you'll cut through it like it's nothing. You're not a victim. You're not a casualty. You're a warrior. And warriors don't fear loneliness. They embrace it, they use it, they let it transform them into something the world can't touch. When you feel lonely, don't shrink, don't break, don't run. Stand your ground, face it head on. Let it hurt, let it heal. And then let it fuel you, because loneliness isn't your end, it's your beginning. And when they come back, and they always come back, don't let them in. Don't let them steal what you've built. Show them what loneliness made you. Show them the warrior who rose from the ashes of their abandonment. Show them that you don't need them and you never will. You're a king without a throne, a fighter without a ring, a storm without an eye. Your chaos, your power, your everything. They feared you'd become this, not because you're weak, but because you're strong. Too strong for them to handle. When you feel lonely, don't see it as a curse. See it as a gift, a chance to become the person you were always meant to be. A warrior, a survivor, a goddamn force of nature. And remember this, loneliness doesn't break warriors, it builds them. You think the nights are endless, that the silence is louder than your screams. But let me tell you something, you don't need anyone to hear you. Screaming into the void isn't for them, it's for you. It's for you to remind yourself that you still have a voice, that you're still breathing, still alive. Because as long as there's breath in your lungs, there's fight in your soul. And as long as there's fight in your soul, you're not done. Yet, they think you're weak because you're alone. They think solitude is a sign of defeat. But let me tell you something. Solitude is where legends are made. While they waste their time chasing validation, you're here, sharpening your mind, your body, your spirit. You're learning to rely on no one but yourself, and that terrifies them. Because a man who needs nothing from anyone is a man they can't control. Look at yourself. Look at what you've survived. Do you even realize how rare that is? Most people would have crumbled under half the weight you've carried. They would have given up, given in, let the world break them. But not you. You're still standing. Maybe you're bruised, maybe you're bleeding, but you're standing, and that's what matters. You're not lonely because you're unworthy. You're lonely because you refuse to settle. You saw through the lies, the fake smiles, the hollow words. You chose to walk away from the crowd instead of letting them drag you down. And yeah, it's a hard road, a lonely road, but it's the only road that leads to greatness. Let them talk, let them gossip, let them paint you as the villain in their stories. None of it matters. The truth is they envy you. They envy your strength, your independence, your refusal to conform. They hate that you don't need them, that you can thrive without their approval. And that's why they try to tear you down. Not because you're weak, but because you're a reminder of everything they're not. You don't need their love. You don't need their validation. You don't need their pity. What you need is to keep moving forward, to keep building, to keep fighting. Because every step you take, every victory you earn, it's yours, not theirs, not anyone else's. It's yours, and that's something no one can ever take away from you. When you feel lonely, remember this. The greatest battles are fought in silence. The strongest warriors are forged in isolation. It's not the crowd that makes a man. It's the moments when he's alone, staring into the abyss, and he decides to keep going. That's where strength is born. That's where legends are made. So let the loneliness consume you. Let it strip away the lies, the distractions, the illusions. Let it show you who you really are. Because in that darkness, in that silence, you'll find your true self. The self that doesn't need anyone's approval. The self that doesn't break under pressure. The self that rises again and again, no matter how many times the world tries to knock you down. You're not just a man. You're a force, a storm, a damn hurricane, the chaos they can't control, the fire they can't extinguish. That's why they fear you. That's why they leave. Because they know they can't handle the power that burns inside you. So when you feel lonely, don't see it as a weakness. See it as a gift, a chance to become the purse. And when the world tries to test you again, when it tries to break you, you'll look it in the eye and say, I've been through worse. Bring it on. You're not here to be liked. You're not here to be understood. You're here to conquer, to rise, to prove, not to them, but to yourself that you're unstoppable. That no matter how many times you fall, you'll always get back up, stronger, harder, fiercer. Loneliness doesn't define you. It refines you. It strips away the unnecessary, leaving only what's essential. And what's essential? You. Your strength, your will, your fire. That's all you need. That's all you'll ever need. Embrace the silence, embrace the darkness, let it mold you, shape you, transform you. Let it turn you into the kind of person who doesn't just survive the storm, but becomes the storm. The kind of person who doesn't just walk through the fire, but becomes the fire. You're not just a man in the shadows. You are the shadow. You're not just a warrior fighting in the dark. You are the dark. And the world better be ready. Because when you step out of that silence, when you rise from that loneliness, there won't be anyone or anything that can stop you. Let them doubt you. Let them abandon you. Let them forget you. Because when you return, they'll have no choice but to remember, to see the warrior you've become, to face the power they tried so hard to destroy. Loneliness isn't the end, it's the beginning. And you're just getting started. They think this loneliness is your downfall, but they couldn't be more wrong. This is where you're building the foundation of a force they'll never comprehend. Loneliness isn't the prison they imagine it to be. It's the forge where you're tempered. Every second you sit here in this quiet agony, you're being shaped into something indestructible. They'll call it isolation. But what they don't see is the transformation happening inside you. You don't need their comfort. Comfort weakens the warrior. Comfort is where the soft find solace, but not you. No. You don't have the luxury of comfort because comfort doesn't sharpen the blade. It dulls it. You're a blade, and you're meant to cut through the noise, the lies, and the weakness that this world wraps itself in. They'll call you cold, distant, a loner. Let them. Their words are just whispers against the roar of what you're becoming. Look around at this silence. It's not emptiness. It's clarity. It's freedom. It's space to hear your own voice, to feel your own power. You're not drowning in it, you're thriving because of it. The noise of the world, that's where people lose themselves. But you found yourself here, in this place they fear. You've learned to listen to the voice that matters most, yours. They didn't stay because they couldn't. They weren't strong enough to stand in the presence of what you're becoming. They saw the fire in you and it scared them. They left because they couldn't handle the heat. Good. Let them go. They were never meant. Loneliness isn't a punishment, it's preparation. It's the proving ground for those who have the courage to face themselves, to confront their demons, to walk through the fire and come out the other side, forged into something the world can't touch. You're not a victim of this solitude. You're the master of it. You've turned it into your ally, your weapon, your shield. When they look at you, they'll see the scars, the pain, the battles you fought and won. They'll see a survivor, but more than that, they'll see a conqueror. They'll see someone who didn't just endure the loneliness, but thrived in it. Someone who took the pain and turned it into power. Someone who faced the abyss and didn't flinch. You're not just surviving this loneliness, you're owning it. You're using it to build a fortress within yourself, a sanctuary that no one can breach. They think being alone makes you vulnerable, but they're wrong. It makes you invincible. Because when you're alone, there's no one to betray you, no one to hurt you, no one to hold you back. It's just you standing tall against the world. And when the day comes that you step out of this silence, the world won't know what hit it. You will be a force to be reckoned with, a weapon sharpened by solitude, forged in the fires of your own struggles. You'll be unstoppable, solitude. You won't just walk, you'll stride. You'll command attention, demand respect. Not with words, but with the presence you've built in this silence. They'll see it in your eyes, hear it in your voice, feel it in the air around you. They'll know without a doubt that you're not the same person they left behind. This loneliness is your crucible. It's burning away the weaknesses, the doubts, the fears. What's left is pure, unyielding strength. Strength they'll never understand because they were too afraid to face it themselves. They'll envy you, fear you, hate you for it, but none of that will matter, because by then, you won't need their approval. You'll be beyond it. Every tear you've shed, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt, it's all fuel. Fuel for the fire that's raging inside you, the fire that's turning you into something unstoppable. And when that fire burns through the last of your hesitation, there won't be anything left to hold you back. When you feel lonely, remember this: you're not alone. You have your pain, your strength, your resolve. You have the lessons you've learned, the battles you've fought, the victories you've earned, and most importantly, you have yourself. You are your own greatest ally, your own strongest weapon. Let the loneliness shape you. Let it mold you into the kind of person who doesn't just survive, but thrives. The kind of person who doesn't just endure, but conquers. The kind of person who looks at the world and says, "You can't break me, because I've already broken myself and rebuilt stronger." You're not not a victim of loneliness. You're a warrior forged in its fire. And when you emerge from this, the world won't know what hit it. They'll see the scars, the strength, the power, and they'll realize too late that they can't stop you. Because you've already faced the worst, and you didn't just survive, you thrived. Stand tall, even in the silence. Stand tall, even in the darkness. Stand tall because you are the darkness, and the world is not ready for what you're becoming. They don't understand what it means to sit in the void and stare at yourself in the mirror of nothingness. They can't grasp the weight of being alone with your thoughts, your regrets, your dreams shattered into fragments too sharp to pick up without bleeding. They run from it. They fill their lives with noise, distractions, meaningless connections that keep them from facing the raw truth. But you didn't run. You stayed. And that's why you're dangerous. Loneliness isn't for the weak. It isn't for those who fear their own shadow. It's a fire that burns away the falsehoods, the illusions, the lies you've told. It's the place where you meet yourself. And when you emerge from this fire, you'll be more than just a survivor. You'll be something the world never saw coming. You'll be unbreakable. You'll be unstoppable. Yourself. It doesn't care about your comfort. It doesn't care about your excuses. It forces you to confront everything you are, everything you've done, everything you could become. And if you let it, it transforms you. You've been through hell, haven't you? Betrayals that cut so deep you swore you'd never recover. Losses that left you hollowed out, like an empty shell, drifting in a sea of despair. Nights so long and dark, you thought the sun would never rise again. But it did. And you're still here, still standing, still fighting. That's what they don't see. That's what they'll never understand. Every time someone walked away, every time you were left in the cold, every time you heard the door slam and felt that crushing weight of abandonment, you didn't break. You cracked, sure. You fell to your knees, maybe even begged for a moment of relief, but you didn't break. You didn't shatter into pieces that couldn't be put back together, and that makes you unbreakable. You don't need them. Not their love, not their approval, not their pity. What you need is the fire inside you, the fire that refuses to die, no matter how much the world tries to smother it. That fire is your lifeline, your weapon, your salvation, and it's yours. No one can take it from you. You've learned something they never will: how to be alone, how to find strength in solitude, peace in the silence, and power in the absence of everything and everyone. You've become the kind of person who doesn't just survive the darkness, but thrives in it. The kind of person who doesn't need a crowd to validate their worth. The kind of person who looks in the mirror and sees not a victim, but a warrior. When the world tells you you're not enough, when it tries to beat you down with its expectations, its judgments, its cruelty, you don't flinch. You don't falter. Why? Because you faced worse. You faced yourself. And that's the hardest battle anyone can fight. You've stood in the ashes of your own life and rebuilt it with your bare hands. You've taken every scar, every wound, every ounce of pain and turned it into armor. You've turned yourself into a force of nature, a storm that can't be contained. And the world is afraid of you now, because they know they can't control you. They can't break you. They can't stop you. When you feel lonely, remember this: the loneliness isn't here to destroy you. It's here to teach you, to show you what you're capable of. When there's no one else to lean on, no one else to depend on, no one else to blame. It's here to remind you that you are enough, that you've always been enough. And through it all, you've become something they never saw coming. You've become unshakable, unstoppable, a force of nature they can't defeat. They'll try to pull you back into the noise, into the chaos, into the endless cycle of seeking approval and validation. Don't let them. Stay in the silence. Stay in the solitude. Let it shape you, mold you, refine you into the person you were always meant to be. Because when you emerge from this, when you step out of the darkness and into the light, you won't just be another person in the crowd. You'll be a force, a legend, a living reminder to everyone who doubted you that you were never weak, never broken, never defeated. Let them talk. Let them mock. Let them say whatever they want. Their words are empty. Their opinions are meaningless. They don't know the battles you've fought, the wars you've won, the unspoken strength it took to get here. They don't know the fire that burns inside you, a fire that refuses to be extinguished. You're not just surviving this loneliness, you're conquering it. You're turning it into a weapon, a tool, a source of power that will carry you through anything life throws at you. You're not just enduring, you're thriving. And that's what scares them. That's what they'll never understand. They won't understand how you've turned isolation into invincibility, how you've turned solitude into strength. They can't fathom how you face the darkest corners of your mind and come out not just unscathed, but stronger. When you feel lonely, don't see it as a curse, see it as a gift. A chance to become the person you've always known you could be. A warrior, a survivor, a force of nature. And when the world tries to test you again, when life throws its challenges and its doubts at you, you'll laugh in its face. Because you've already faced the worst, and you didn't just survive, you thrived. Remember this. Loneliness doesn't break warriors, it builds them. And you're the strongest warrior they'll ever meet. You've been forged in fire, tempered by solitude, and sharpened by every challenge that came your way. You are unshakable, unstoppable, and the world will have no choice but to bow before the force you've become.